Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. We are on episode 37 tonight. And our topic today, I thought would be fun, is our youngest is obviously, as you know, a freshman in college, and next year is going to be living off campus, and the whole search starts for finding a place to live and, what they're going to do and everything. So one, I think, lucky thing about her going to school this semester as opposed to just staying home and learning online is meeting people who she can, live with off campus next year. She did, super successful. So we've been talking to her about what it's like to rent a place and all the questions that you have to ask, and it's been super exciting to see her navigate those territories. And so we were kind of thinking like just reminiscing about like our very first apartments, which are good times. So what was your first apartment?
It was actually in Champaign.
Okay.
When I was an undergraduate. I graduated in 3 years, so I was like kind of a senior, although I'd only been there for 3 years. And a group of us got a place just maybe a mile or so like east of the campus. And actually not too far from where she is now. And there were five of us living in this. I think it was a 3-bedroom apartment. It was the first floor of a house, and it was actually, in retrospect, it was really pretty nice. But dirt cheap. I think we paid about $135 a piece,
Which is amazing.
for rent. Yeah, and it had a big wraparound porch, and it had parking off the street and things like that. So yeah, it was actually, it was still a college apartment.
But we've toured a few when our oldest was at school, and there's some that are like so run down. They're like so gross. You wouldn't even want to like take your shoes off.
Yeah, and it kind of varies between, more expensive buildings that are operated by developers, and, they may or may not be particularly conscientious about how they do things, and they charge a lot of money, and a
Yeah.
lot of those places tend to be right in the heart of everything where there's a lot of partying going on and whatnot. And then if you get away from campus, a lot of times you get into more rundown
I actually
places.
didn't realize they said that 20,000 students live off campus. That's like insane when you think about it.
I would think it would be more than that because there's 50,000 total, so I think it would be more than half.
Yeah.
I'm looking at pictures of our house right here because, you can look it up on all these different websites.
And we drove by it when David showed me when we were in Champaign, so I got to see it. Not on the inside, but
But the hilarious thing is it looks exactly the same. There's a picture of the kitchen, and this is where we would like do homework and
that's so
stuff.
funny.
Yeah, that bench was there, back then, and little
It
this.
actually looks really pretty. We'll post a
Yeah,
picture.
it was nice actually.
Yeah.
That this fireplace it looks exactly the same.
Could it have a real fire in it?
Uh,
Or is it
Maybe
decorative?
we
Yeah.
never tried. We never tried. What I can tell you about this house is we were living here when the David Bowie album was the one with Let's Dance and Stevie Ray Vaughan was on it.
I know. I can't remember.
I'll have to look up the name of that album, but that was that and 1999 by Prince were the two big albums.
That's so funny.
In fact, there's a funny story about my dad. When my dad came down for graduation, that would have been in 1983. I was 21, just to point out. We all were, at least 21. But we were having a big party for graduation, and my dad came to pick me up to go to some convocation thing that we had to go to. I can't remember what it was, and my roommates were blasting one side or another of the 1999 album. If you're not familiar with that album, not every song would make it on the radio. Many of them would now come with an adult warning label, and they were bringing in kegs of beer. Well, no, I'm sure just one keg. I can't imagine it was more than one keg, and blasting Prince. And my dad actually thought it was pretty funny, so I'll give him credit for that. But yeah, that was actually really not a bad apartment, but it was a little cramped with 5 people in it. But Nice big porch.
Yeah, it's really pretty. And my first apartment after college was actually with my sister and close to my parents' house. Kind of funny. It was only 4 blocks from our parents' house. But the whole year before, we stockpiled anything that we needed, dishes, pots and pans, anything, laundry detergent, just so we could like stockpile all that stuff to have it. And also, it was a very nice apartment. Obviously, this is a super long time ago, but it was $600 rent, so we each paid $300, and it was 2 bedrooms, a separate dining room, a living room, wood burning fireplace, eat-in kitchen, deck on the backyard, 2-car garage. Insane.
Yeah, well, things were obviously a lot cheaper back then too,
Yeah.
and but you know, we had landlines, you know, so we had to pay for a phone, and we had
There's no internet.
there was no internet. I mean, well, there just was no commercial internet
Right.
in 1983, 82, 83. But one thing I remember about that place is that there was a towny bar about a couple blocks away. I think it was a few blocks away, called Todd and John's. And we used to go there. Actually went there more in law school a couple years later. But the great part about Todd and John's was that it was a little tiny oasis of Cub fans in a sea of Cardinal fans. If you're not familiar with downstate Illinois, it is big time St. Louis Cardinal country. So it was nice to have a place to go that was
I wonder if that place is still there.
I don't know, but it was great because it was Cub fans, and also because it was frequented by locals instead of drunken college kids. So you could go there and just kind of hang out and not have
And
to
not
deal
be
with
like
that.
wall to wall people.
I do recall that they had a like a 6 to 9 a.m. happy hour because there were a number of, you know, there was a big craft processing plant in the area and other like factories. So there are a lot of people who
on
worked
the third shift.
the third shift, and so they had happy hour
Breakfast
at
of champions.
6 o'clock in the morning. Never went for
Yeah.
happy hour, but yeah. That was also not far from the mall that had the Jumer's Castle Lodge or Castle Inn, or whatever, this big hotel that looked like something out of Young Frankenstein.
That's so funny.
Yeah, with real dark, heavy wood interior and everything like that.
And then our first apartment together is a great story because we moved into an apartment that David's sister had. And so
That's true.
we moved her out the day before. I can't remember if it was the day before or the weekend before.
Yeah.
So she moved out, and then we moved all our stuff in.
I know we moved in on a Saturday.
We definitely
Because
moved
we
in on a
actually were
Saturday.
supposed to go to a wedding on Sunday, and we didn't make it
Yes.
because we were just beat. Because it was like 30 degrees and raining at the end of April. It was, well,
It
not
was
30,
it was the coldest, windiest,
but it was miserable.
just horrible weather. But it was kind of funny that we had obviously been to his sister's apartment before, and when we were looking for a place, she happened to be moving in with her fiance at the time. So it just was like a perfect storm of like, well, why don't you guys just move in here and I'll move out. So that worked out pretty good.
But that was, we moved before Emma was born. We moved
We
out
did.
of there to a little bit bigger place.
Yeah, because then once we got married, we only had a 1-bedroom apartment. It had a separate dining room. But as you can imagine, after getting married, all the presents and everything, we had no room. So we're just like, we have to get something
It was
a little
pretty
bit
crazy.
bigger. And then the funniest story, so then the next apartment that we had was in the next town over, and that was the first floor of a 2-flat, and it had 3 bedrooms, nice backyard, deck, and everything. And I want to say that was like $700 a month. It was insanely cheap. So obviously the prices are not like that anymore around here.
No, but the funny thing down in Champaign, the funny thing when living in student housing was, you know, you always had to deal, or what, I don't mean student housing, but apartments that students lived in. You always had to deal with some kind of eccentric landlords. I remember one person, this was when I was in law school. In fact, I think it was my first year in law school, and I was rooming with someone who I had roomed with as an undergrad. He was a year behind us, so he was still there. But in any event, the landlord, when we were signing the papers or whatever, said something about how he would never rent to law students or something like that. He didn't trust law students, and I didn't bother to tell him that that's what I was. But
What, because if you think that he would get in like a
right,
legal,
right.
or you guys would know the rules.
I didn't appreciate it at the time, but I should have told him law students are idiots. We didn't know a damn thing.
I don't know how to fight you with this lease.
Right. But I remember him saying that, and I didn't say anything because it was, by that point, the ink was already dry on the lease. It's too late.
Yeah. Guess we're moving in.
But I got off track. We were talking about the first place that we had. The only problem with that place was that I remember the floors were not particularly even. They were kind of slanty.
Yep. And actually, in that one too, there was no closet in the bedroom. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it was
like
just
a real
like
bedroom.
it wasn't like, but it was only a 1-bedroom apartment. So like, how could you not have a closet in the bedroom? Because technically that wasn't really a bedroom. But so that was kind of awkward because then we had to use like a hall closet for our clothes and stuff. But that's like a hall closet for like your coats and like a vacuum cleaner and stuff like that. So that was kind of crazy.
On the other hand, that when we moved to the place in Forest Park, the second place was similar. It was like the first floor of the house, kind of like the place I had down in Champaign, and it had that huge second bedroom that we basically really, I guess it was a third bedroom.
It was a third bedroom.
Emma had her own bedroom.
Yeah,
we had a bedroom. Third bedroom that we just used as kind of like a giant walk-in closet.
That was our closet.
It was a dressing room / closet. That was kind of nice.
That was very nice because then we had our dressers in there. We get ready, and it didn't take up space in our bedroom. So yeah, that was super deluxe.
And that's also when I started running. So I would get up early in the morning, and I could sneak in and like get, if it was snow outside or whatever.
Right.
Could get dressed whatever I needed, and then go run, and then not make a big production.
And actually, for a while, for probably a year, I worked for a management company and I helped people find places to live, apartments. I did it in our hometown and I did it in Chicago, which I loved because I'm nosy and I love to look at places and things like that. So it was always fun. Although it was kind of like House Hunters now, where you're just like, what are you guys looking for? And it'd be like they want everything, but not that much money.
And they had no money and no source of income.
Yeah.
Kind of like being a student when you're in an apartment.
Right. Yeah. I'd like to get this apartment, but we both don't have jobs. We just moved here, but we would like to have a house.
Right.
I don't know how you get a place without jobs, but whatever. So that was kind of fun too, to be able to show people around, and especially in the city, because then I got to go to all the different neighborhoods and fun stuff like that, which was great.
But there's always when you're renting, there's always those problems, like the something goes out and the furnace all of a sudden just stops working, and it's one thing when you have like a management company or something like that, although that can be dicey in its own right. But then you got to call if you don't have that, if you're living in a place where just a regular person owns it, then you got to call and. They have
to make arrangements.
Right, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you got to call them or whatever. That's no fun.
So we were trying to give our daughter just some tips and tricks and things to ask, since this will be her first rodeo of doing it. And so I think some of the stuff she probably learned a lot.
What I don't know is you had suggested that she contact all the utilities and find out what the utilities have done at that place.
And if you do not know that tip, if you can call any utility company in the town that you're in, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to rent a place, and you can just give them the address and say, for the last 12 months, what's the highest and lowest for gas, electric, and they'll tell you. So it's kind of a nice feature, because especially if you're looking at a place that's larger than you've been, and all of a sudden you see like, oh, the heating bill is $400 a month or $500, then you'd be like, whoa, kind of thing. Yeah. And you can kind of see like there's no insulation in this house, kind of thing.
Or someone's scamming you.
Yes.
When this is a long time ago, but when I was in law school, I worked one summer for the Legal Assistance Foundation of Chicago, which is now called Legal Aid Chicago. But I was in the West Side neighborhood, what they call the West Side office in the city. And one of the very frequent complaints that we had to deal with was someone would move into a building, like a two flat. The owner lived in one unit, they rented the other, and then they would eventually discover that the landlord, or it could be another tenant in the building, but it was often the landlord, had basically set it up so that all of the electricity for the entire building was on their bill. Like there's only one meter, and they didn't know that, or they were paying for the heat for the whole building, and eventually the state actually passed a statute to make that a criminal offense and to give you rights against somebody who does that. And now, by law, if you're living in a multi-unit apartment and you have to pay any portion of the utilities that affect like common areas, they have to disclose that and they have to give you information about what that is. But I remember that was like a common scam in the city where
so crazy.
Someone would be living in a place and all of a sudden, their heat might get shut off because they got this huge bill that they couldn't pay. And it was because someone else in the building, like I said, very often the landlord, was siphoning off their gas service, their electric service, or whatever. Man.
So crazy.
By the way, I was just looking, I found a picture of the kitchen of our old place. We did not have the stainless steel appliances but other than that, it looks very much the same, like the same cabinets. And
we'll definitely show pictures of that one because it's pretty nice. So we just thought we'd reminisce about our first apartment since our youngest is about to endeavor on that journey, which is so exciting. What was your first apartment, and how much do you pay?
Yeah.
For us, if it's like 35 years ago, it's probably not as much as it is today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But we will definitely see you next time on episode 38 on Thursday. So have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.